So let's now dive into the conversation around the revenue sharing standoff. And I want to begin with a video of senators on how furious they were when they left the House sometimes last week. Listen.
Order. Order, members. I'm therefore directing that the House adjourns until Tuesday, 28th July 2020.
All right, and joining us this morning are two senators, Senator Ledama Olekina of Narok County and Senator Samson Cherargei from Nandi County. It's difficult to tell who is shouting shame because all of you are wearing masks, but you could hear the voices. Senator Olekina, what was your position and why are you calling out on the speaker? I've never seen such a thing in my life. Why shame on him?
It was absolutely shameful because you cannot violate the procedures of the House just because of either special interest or because of lack of understanding on what needs to be done. In fact, what would have happened is that after the majority leader proposed that the House adjourn, it should have been seconded. After being seconded, a question would have been proposed. After being proposed, then senators would have been given an opportunity to argue their case and then vote whether they agree or not. And then the speaker would put a question. So really what happened on that particular day was very shameful for the history of Parliament in Kenya. And I think we have got to really think seriously about how we want this country to go. Because the Senate is a house of reason and it's a house of union where we are united as 47 counties, regardless of the size of the county. So what happened that day is absolutely shameful.
And Senator Cherargei, so we see how the senators reacted. Even after that, we saw them speak outside the presence of Parliament. But what is happening? Because for 4 times you've had a meeting, we had been promised that you're going to make a decision on that formula, but you still haven't. Who is pulling what strings?
Thank you for having me today in the morning. Is that I think Kenyans should be understand that under Article 201, 203, 216, and 217, every time after every 5 years, upon recommendation of Commission of Revenue Allocation, the Senate must come up with a new shareable revenue formula. And I think for the 5th time, we have failed to agree on various questions on how we can be able to pass that formula. So I think these are some of the challenges that is normally, because you know resources is always an emotive issue, and therefore the failure on almost more than 4 or 5 times to agree as a Senate is because of the stakes that are high, because this is a new formula that will be used for the next 5 years. And therefore, you remember also, Tuku, that this matter has been postponed 1 year ago. Now we are in the 2nd year, and this matter must be resolved by Tuesday. And for us, we have looked at the committee recommendation and the committee report, and we have given the full support to that recommendation that has been developed by the committee.
So why has it been so difficult to reach consensus? Because you've seen some counties, including you as Senator Cherargei, I think we lost him. Nandi County appears to be, is likely to get up to 1.4 billion shillings, but Narok County is likely to lose, I think, about 800 million shillings. So why has it been so difficult, Senator Ledama, to really reach an agreement at a time that the counties need the resources, especially for this current financial year?
Let me try and demystify so that at least viewers can be able to understand where the problem is. You see, under Article 217, there is a Commission of Revenue that recommends a formula in which the Senate should consider on how revenue shall be divided. CRA carried out different statistics. They looked at the changing environment in terms of the poverty index, into how many people are actually poor in the country. And they deviated from the previous application of revenue from the generation formula, which is 45%, and then it had given the basic share around 26%, and then a few other, like the fiscal effort 2% and the other one, and then developed parameters. And this is where we are actually deviating. This is where there's a conflict of, of understanding. People are not able to understand what is actually happening. And I'll try and demystify it. when CRA gives health 17%, Kibiro formula or the committee formula gives it 20%. What that does is that it discriminates the large counties, counties that do not have a huge population that can be able to have many people in an area to be able to enjoy those benefits. Number two, it also gives agriculture, CRA gave agriculture 10% of the total revenue. Kibiro formula or the committee formula gives it 12%. That also discriminates most counties. Like you will see, Nairobi doesn't have a lot of agriculture. And in fact, if you go further down, the other part, which is a little bit contentious, is the issue of land. Now, on the CRA formula, it gives land 8%, but caps it at 7%. So that big counties like Marsabit, Turkana, Wajir, do not take all the money. It reduces how much those counties get. Now, what Kibiro formula does, or the committee formula does, is that it now reduces the land index to 5%. When it reduces it to 5%, it also introduces something new which has never been done anywhere in the world, which is a square root formula, where it takes the size of, let's say, Narok County, which is around 17,000 square kilometers, and then bring it down to about a square root of 143. So you're reducing the county into a circle, such that only services can only be rendered to a circle. If we want to build a road from Narok Town to Kilgoris, we can't, because the money that we are losing when it is reducing to a square root is quite a lot of money. So really, what is happening is that we want to go back to session 10 of, session paper number 10 of, I think it was 1963, on where you concentrate development along the railway line. So that is where the issue is. And where we're also having a big problem is that when Kangata and his team, which there are very few, say that it is okay for Wajir, it is okay for Narok to lose millions of shillings. Wajir would lose about 2 billion, and Narok would lose almost 950 million. Then, when they say it's okay for us to lose that and for other counties to gain, and they say, okay, this year you will not lose anything, because last year Narok got 8 billion. You will not lose this year. We will suspend it for 1 year. It doesn't solve the problem. It does not solve the problem. So really, where we are fighting is this. We have come up with a compromise formula, which what we are saying, it is Y equal A plus B, which is Y equal the total amount of money which will be distributed into the counties, where A is all the money that if Narok County got 8 billion last year, they get 8 billion. If we have any other additional money, they get another formula, they get money into B. So if it is 8 billion plus, which is A, plus B, whatever amount they can be able to get. But Cherargei and his team would be very happy because Nandi County, which is a very small county, would end up getting a lot more money than big counties. So it is not actually fair.
All right, Senator, I'll get back to you, but let me bring in Senator Cherargei, because he's been quiet. Of course, there's that contention, and when Senator Lekina explains what the committee is doing vis-a-vis what CRA had recommended, it gets to the complication or complicated nature. Why are we complicating how money is being shared, yet we know what services need to be funded?
Thank you. Sam, I want to say the CRA normally develops parameters, and I think Senator for Narok has tried to point out those parameters. I think where we are having contention is on the issue of land and on the issue of population. One, you have to appreciate that in this financial year, no county will lose money. We have agreed to postpone to the next financial year. Secondly, is on the basis of population. We have already insisted that we need to rewrite the injustice that has been committed to most populous counties. As we talk, somebody would argue that a place called Mandera or Wajir or where, the people are sparsely, and therefore you need to cover a lot of place before reaching services to them. But you are forgetting here in Kiambu or Nairobi, we also have a unique challenge called the up and poor. This money should go to where the people are. This is where the services are. And therefore, even if you look at Article 202, the formation of Commission of Revenue Allocation and parameters to allocation of resources to counties has been provided for. Sub-Article 2 talks about that the government can provide additional funding. Secondly, let us demystify this notion that this proposed formula of the committee will marginalize counties. It will not marginalize, because we need to operationalize Article 204 of the Constitution, where we have created equalization fund. This equalization fund, the sole agenda is to ensure that the marginalized counties are given additional funds to ensure they catch up with other counties.
But Senator Cherargei, I know you've been very happy with the numbers that you're seeing from the committee report that would give Nandi County an additional amount. I wish we had the slides to run at the side. But how do you reconcile all this at a time that their counties, for instance, I believe Marsabit is just about to lose up to 1.8 billion shillings. How are they supposed to continue financing the services they've been financing in the previous years?
You know what we are just saying is simple, that the equalization fund Nandi does not get, Marsabit gets. So what justification do you have that Nandi today does not get through the equalization fund, yet Marsabit come? We are trying to create an equitable shareable revenue. And that is why when normally we allocate money, we use equitable sharing, we don't use equality. And therefore, Marsabit County and counties others, we have already insisted that in future, these counties must develop proper policies of their own source revenue. That is number one. Number two, when you look at the Vision of Revenue 2020, one of the items talks about what you call drought mitigation fund, that is around 300 million. That money goes to arid and semi-arid areas. It does not go to other areas such as Nandi, or even where we have disasters like landslide and floods. So this notion that other counties will continue to be marginalized is not there because it's awkward. Because when you look at Article 204, the Constitution is very clear that there is a equalization fund that will cushion these counties that they do not lose. And number two, which is critical, Sam, when you look at the absorption rate of budget process of most of these counties, they carry forward billions and billions of shillings in their budget to the next financial year. They don't even have capacity to absorb. Most of them are taking
Senator Cherargei, of course, it's within your right to make those allegations. But when I look at the control of budget report,
there is no allegations that I'm making. These are documents that are with the control of budget.
And I am referring you. I'm referring you to the report of the control of budget as at March this year. I'm looking at Nandi County. You just spoke about generation of on-source revenue. Up to March, the Nandi County that you represent had raised 176 million shillings out of a target of 629 million shillings. So your performance at that time was at 27.9%. So that would be really low, bearing in mind that there are counties that were able to go up to the extent of more than 40%. So I don't know, Senator Ledama Olekina, so we are having this conversation, all this confusion. But yes, formulas are supposed to be reviewed, and it's time to review it. And they are likely to be winners. They are likely to be losers in as far as how that formula changes. How best do you suggest that we move forward without adversely affecting other counties so bad? Well, unfortunately, I'm told that we have lost connection with Senator Ledama. We'll getting back to him. But Senator Cherargei, again, the question about your own county. You're talking about on-source revenue, but you're performing dismally. How do you respond to that?
I think one of the biggest challenges, and the national government also have the same challenge of the generating revenue. I think most counties, if you look at the report, you are just singling out Nandi. But if you look at the report, most counties have a challenge with on-source revenue. And we have, if, for example, in Nandi County, that is an entirely now we need to look at the performance of the executive, where they need maybe to issues of automation, issues of improving and diversifying on-source revenue. I agree, even the national government or even the county governments do not normally meet the target of on-source revenue. But the challenge is, if you look at the tax revenue, the national tax revenue from these counties that are populous, compared to the counties that are less populous, the tax national revenue, the turnover is not quite high as those counties that are called arid and semi-arid counties. And another factor of on-source revenue is that, unlike the national government, where Kenya Revenue Authority, which has more capacity and has more broader tax base, can be able to collect more revenue because of they have a stronger system and capacities.
So Senator, that is all true, but I have a challenge with understanding your argument, because you're saying that these counties that are likely to lose the resources should focus on generating on-source revenue, but yet your own county is having those challenges. So how do you expect those other counties that are just about to lose to generate their own at a time that you're facing all these challenges?
No, what I'm just saying is that other sources, because by the way, I've read Article 202 that says national government can give additional funds. I have told you there is what we call equalization fund, Article 204. I have said another option is the own source revenue. So these are other sources that the county governments can try and raise their own source, their revenue in terms of improving. So what I'm just saying is that they should, I'm not saying it is that they should singularly focus on raise through own source revenue. I'm just saying it is one of the avenues of ensuring the counties have self-sustainability. And that is why many people would argue that the devolution is one form of expensive of government. You remember even some people are proposing that we measure some of the counties because of the challenges of funding these devolved units, that there are many and therefore they're expensive. So what I'm just giving another proposal is that even as we fight over, because the contention that the people of the so-called losing counties are arguing is that they are going to lose the money and therefore services will not be there. But we are trying to say, let us bridge the gap. For example, the national government this year might not meet the target of collecting revenue because of COVID pandemic. So where do we go from there? So my argument is that this proposed formula, let us not push counties with the highest population simply because we want to appear expeditiously for funding other things than people, because people need money and people need services.
Okay, all right. As we conclude this, Senator Ledamo Lekina, sorry about that technical hitch, but so as we conclude, tomorrow you have that sit down again at the Senate. Do you think that finally you have found a way of moving forward? Should you be expecting some white smoke after tomorrow?
So, first of all, let me correct what the assertion that my brother has tried to portray, that counties are not able to absorb all their budgets. We have to be very honest in our conversation to Kenyans. We've got a lot of challenges in terms of our accounting systems, our accounting policies and procedures, the kind of accounting system that we use, which makes it very difficult for counties to be able to utilize all their resources at a particular financial year. So we have to be honest with that. Number two, when it comes to counties generating their own source of revenue, some of us, like now, Narok County, are the ones who are generating the most money in these counties. So really, when we're in the Senate, the key most important thing that we should do is to try and support devolution to the fullest. And trying to create disparities between counties, saying, oh, they benefited before or they didn't benefit before, will not help us. We have to do away with this argument of winners and losers. We should not have any winners or losers. That's issue number one. Number two, also, let us compare apples to apples. We cannot bring in an issue of equalization fund, which is something which is enshrined in the Constitution. And in fact, what CRA has done when it comes to the issue of the equalization fund is that they have gone to household. They have looked at, they have gone to ward level. So even there are some
So Senator, will we have a solution tomorrow?
Now, let me put it this way, Sam. It's not even a matter of pushing, saying whether there will be a solution. What is there, Kenyans should understand that we have a formula which we've now dubbed as the Sakaja formula, which is one that will continue helping counties. We have said, and you will see this one taking the day, that counties should not get less than what they got last year. Narok County got 8 billion. They will continue getting 8 billion until we have more revenue allocated to counties. If we had 400 billion, then we would not have any problem. So the solution will only come when some people, run away from this notion that they want to punish other counties that have been benefiting just because they have land. We need to be able to build road from the beginning of Narok all the way to the end of Narok, and the same way from the beginning of Marsabit to the end of Marsabit.
All right, thank you so much, Senator. And of course, if that carries the day, then it will mean that last year we had 316.5 billion shillings allocated. This year we have the same, so there might not be any change in terms of the amounts that have been allocated. Senator Cherargei, Senator Ledamo Lekina, thank you so much. I wish we had more time to continue with this, but that's our time. We take a